Hello, fifth grade scientists. So today what we're going to do is we're going to still be talking about force and motion, but we're going to be talking about it a little bit differently this week. I want you to think back to potential and kinetic energy. So remember we said potential energy was stored up energy. It was energy that it could have depending on how far it was from the ground, so its position, and also how much it weighs. Kinetic energy is moving energy, energy that's already in motion, like the roller coaster going down the hill. Okay? So I want you to keep that in mind when we're talking about these science fact and science fictions. All right? So I know that fiction is something that's made up, and sometimes we make up things in our mind that make sense to us at the time, but once we learn more, we have a better understanding and we realize that they're fiction or misconceptions that we have about something. So we need to clear up some misconceptions or some fictions that we believe about science and energy before we can move on. All right, so let's go. So one of the fiction things that people tend to believe is that energy is matter, like it's something that you can hold in your hand. That's absolutely not true. So let's find out what really is true. So the fact is, energy is stored in matter. Think back to the types of energy that we learned about. We learned about potential and kinetic energy. So what does that sound like? It's stored. Stored energy is potential energy. So we're talking about an object having the potential to have energy. So it just depends on the gravitational pull, whether something knocks into it, whether two objects hit each other. So there's a lot of things that make up the potential turning into a kinetic type energy, okay? All right, so that was misconception number one. Misconception or fiction number two that people believe. Only hot or warm objects can transfer energy. So that's only one type of energy. Heat energy is only one type. So actually, the fact is, moving objects transfer energy regardless of their temperature. So a roller coaster isn't necessarily hot before it moves down the track. But it does transfer energy. Its energy when it's up at the top is potential. It's just sitting there. You know how they go click, 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 click up the hill and then they sit there for a minute just to make your heart race? Okay, that's potential energy when it's up at the top. And then all of a sudden it lets you go and wow, there you go. And then you have the kinetic energy. So the roller coaster itself doesn't get hot. When you're sitting there, your buns aren't burning. So it doesn't necessarily have to be temperature that causes the energy to transfer. Okay? That was misconception number two. Misconception number three, objects have motion only, usually when you see only, it's not true. Only when a person moves them. Now I can think of a lot of times, like with the roller coaster, I'm not going up there and pushing the roller coaster down the hill. So I'm not pushing it to cause it to move. So that right there, I already know that can't be true. So what is true? Objects have energy if they are moving. So if they're moving, period. So when it's up at the top of the hill, that roller coaster, and they let go of it, then gravity takes over. Nobody pushes it. Gravity takes over. Well, also you can think about water from a waterfall. Now when the water is up above and on the hill or the mountain or the cliff, and it's all of a sudden falls down, nobody's up there pushing the water droplets. That doesn't happen because of a person. That happens because of gravity. Gravity causes it to flow down. So these are some common misconceptions about energy, and we're going to be talking more about collisions and how that's a transfer of energy. So until then, I want you to keep watching, always stay curious, and keep learning. See you tomorrow.